one or two attributes that you're working on. Even more importantly, there's one attribute that God gave you that you don't even have to work on. It was the most premier attribute that you could have been given, and it shines on every single situation that you go through throughout the day. It's tough, isn't it? It's a lot harder than you think. It's like, well, these are great words, but it's really about getting to the it factor. I talk about it all the time. My framework, this is proven, but those it factors don't happen all the time. You're just gonna have a couple of them every single day. Evan is in deep thought.
Second guessing myself.
And there's no wrong to any of these.
No,
but usually what you're going to find on that is that the hardest one should be at the very top. Not the easiest. The hardest one. Because you're going to, like I said, you're walking around 9 or 10 of these attributes most of the time anyways. It's those 1 or 2 you got to work on. That if you can get over that hump, you get to the it factor. Ethan, you feel good about it? You want to share yours?
I wouldn't say, I don't know, I feel like if you put all these things together, start at the bottom and work your way to the top, my top would be execution. I would put like enthusiastic, eagerness, respect, authentic, the base of what I think is
So
myself.
yours are, what's your C?
My C is, I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I would say consistency.
So consistency would be your C. Okay. What's your A?
Authentic.
All right. And then you said?
I went with all 3 of the R's. I think I could use all 3 of those and use them as one to really help me on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. That's great. Missy, how about you? What was the hardest one for you to put down?
I think the hardest one for me is honestly the curiosity sometimes.
Okay.
Because I think, like, with us, with our small team, I think we get in the moment and we're like, it's not about getting the phone calls or the people in and out of the office, but it's about the process. And we know who we're going to sit here and really have a conversation with. We know also who they don't want to have a conversation. They're calling for one moment, one purpose. They want 10, 15, 20 seconds of your time and they want to be done. Mm-hmm. So we kind of know that, but I think the curiosity for me is probably the hardest sometimes because I'm trying to execute and get this through correctly,
right?
So we can move on.
Sounds like adaptability is pretty high on yours then.
Yeah.
You adapt pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. I think so. I think we have to because, like you said, we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know what
right.
that next phone call is. We don't know what the person coming in the door is. We might think they're just here to pay a bill. Mm-hmm. They come in every month. No, it's totally different on that day.
Yeah. We'll have a customer coming in to pay a bill, and then the next customer walks in and their spouse just died. And
right.
We're like, whoa.
It's a tremendous. Being able to adapt is critical, right? Adaptability and relatability to your brand setters. If you don't have those two, it's really hard to keep a brand functioning, right? Who in here wants to be honest enough to share the one attribute you think you would need to work on the most? Josh.
Compassion for me.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can you expand?
I think it goes back. I used to be a firefighter, and so I think you see a lot of things that you can't take home with you, and I think that kind of puts a wall up in that realm, and so that's kind of where it suffered is compassion, because it's more of that's life, things happen, and we move on kind of thing, because you can't get connected that well in that line of work, and I think that's where that for me probably needs the most work, is to break down those walls and understand, and when times is to be compassionate and not so much as compassion, but more empathy.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting you say that, because I last summer was at a golf outing and I played with a group of people. One of the guys was a firefighter, and he said the same exact thing. And I was like, well, wait a minute, but you guys are firefighters. Like, he's like, you don't understand. It's like we have to go in there and get the job done. Like, it's not, they don't almost don't have the time, but they know how to save a life. So it's just how they're executing on their job versus showing the compassion, right?
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Anybody else want to share the one that you want to work on? Because we could be vulnerable in here. Mine is adapting.
Mine would be being more consistent. I feel like when I'm in the moment, most of the time my execution is great, but doing that consistently and not, I've written 8 policies today. I'm good. No, I got to be consistent. I want to write 8 policies every single day. So if I'm not being consistent and I take my foot off the gas, tomorrow I'm not going to get there.
That's
the next day I'm not going to get there.
Excellent point. And that one that's I wanted to hit on this. There are so many workshops out there that'll come in and talk to you about one word for like 2 hours and bore the hell out of you, right? But the reality is, it's so much more than just one. I want to hit on consistency for a second and give you just a little piece, a slice of what the rest of my workshop would look like. Do you know how you build consistency in your life? It starts with self. So I want you to, Evan, I want you to do this. I want you to create one self goal, which is to work on yourself, to eat healthy, to work out, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
I want you to have one personal goal. So self, then a circle for personal, one goal. What are you going to do personal in your personal life that day? Call a friend, call your mom, take somebody out to lunch you haven't seen in a while. That's the personal goal.
Yeah.
And then have a professional. Just one for each. And once you build a pattern of doing it over and over and over again, it builds the consistency. Make sense?
Definitely.
Once you get good at it, you can add more. I can do 2 selves, 2 personal, and 2 professional. But it has to start with the core. It starts with how you wake up. I wake up every single day and I thank God that I'm alive. Because I have seen way too much death in my life. And I'm not trying to be deep and I'm not trying to be morbid on a Friday morning. I'm just being real. So I'm very thankful. And then I get right into my body. What am I doing for myself? I'm in the process of fasting and losing some weight. I have to stay consistent with that. Then personally, what am I going to do? I got to get home and mow the lawn, get that done before I go to my son's baseball game. And then professionally, what do I have to get done to build my business? Okay, and I do it over and over and over again so that people understand what they're going to get from me every single time. Make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah. Andy, what was yours? What's one you think you need to work on?
Consistent.
Consistent?
Yeah.
It's very hard, right?
Yeah.
Because people are like, well, this is so simple. It's so simple I came up with it. But if you put consistent in front of any one of these other ones, it's extremely hard. Are you consistently reliable? And here's another twist on being reliable. I've had 4 knee replacements. I'm a very reliable person, but I've had to ask, can you get me this? Those 4 words to my family, my wife and 2 kids, for months on end, for 2.5 to 3 years. And so flip it. I had to then accept reliable. I had to accept other people helping me out. It's the flip side of that coin. So yes, you guys are always reliable for people until you need the reliability. You need to be able to fall back on somebody. Okay, what about over here?
I was going to say execute, but I feel like it should be consistent because it's just the everyday. You've got to be consistent in your own personal goals and your professional goals and being consistent and following up with your own self too.
That's so true because it makes you feel good.
Yes.
It puts a smile on your face. You feel healthier. You feel like, wow, I started the day right.
We have to follow up with our own self too.
1,000,000%. That's a great answer. And you'll also find that these 2 are very, very connected. right? You have to consistently execute. And I mean, absolutely critical. If you're calling at 2 and then the call comes in at 2:05, you've already lost. You call at 2. Okay? And when you don't do that, what happens? People start to lose the idea that you can be reliable. Make sense? Now, let's flip it to the fun part. What's the one attribute that God gave you that you know right now trumps everybody else in this room? You've got it down more than anybody. You don't even have to work on it. It just comes to you. I'm going to go around and ask each one of you. Let's start with Missy. Missy, of these, which one did God give you that you don't even have to ever work on?
What did he say over there?
I said I was gonna say good looks.
Hey!
Thanks,
I
Josh.
said, chill out.
Evan said something negative.
No, I didn't.
Okay, thanks. I think for me, it's execution.
Really?
Yeah, because I live by the Post-it note and I write it down, whatever I've got to do that day, so I do not forget.
This is so true.
It is so true. You guys know
You
how
guys
many
see it
Post-it
too.
notes I go through. And for me, it's like, okay, boom, boom, boom. This is where we're at. Now, what happens in between all of that, sometimes the plan deviates a little bit, but I think for me, it's like, okay, execution. I come in here and I think to myself, okay, these are the things I'm getting off this desk today. It doesn't always happen, but it's like, that is my plan. And I know that, we've talked about this, Jeff walks over there and he's like, what is all this on the desk? But it's like, that's how I have to work. I have to get it out, look at it, and make a plan for how I'm gonna roll that day.
And execute.
And execute. I will share some vulnerable that I don't know if I've shared with her, but one of the most important conversations I ever had in my life was with Missy.
Oh, thanks.
And I think you know the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
When I started my company, before, not this one, 25 years ago when I helped the basement to $1 billion company, right? When I started out, I was at a low point in my life. And I couldn't get approved for a pencil. Like, I had creditors calling, it was terrible. And all I would do was run from them. I didn't know, because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with answering the phone saying, nope, they're not here, but let's not have the electricity shut off. That's how we grew up. That's how I grew up. And so one day I didn't know who to call. I'm like, I have to call someone. And I called Missy. And she gave me an executable plan. She said, Jay, just call them. Just call them and they will set up plans with you. And by the end of that day, I had called, it was awful.